Day 11, August 2023. Had a good night, America, Europe. So, uh, we will have now the reading of the diary, and it's quite simple. The case, at least the expectation that we are carrying through the judicial system in America, Europe, and the International Criminal Court or any other, because it's against the corruption. And the corruption is a criminal area, the basis and the premise of other crimes, including the murder during an electoral period, which based on the context, microenvironment and conjuncture that nation, I would say, or that place that is having the democratic process, and the relations with others, setting blocks, international association until global elements that are very cohesive, I would say. And for instance, if you asked help for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, can I lead? I asked to have the status as American citizen, at least the status. And things I have to do, for instance, like the accountability or something. I can carry this in a derogatory way. I have no problems at all. And we observe that the America must have some interest on it. For instance, let's suppose that this area, El Salvador or Honduras, something like this, had this political murder for sure. It's not something fake. Can you be a person in an American embassy to be in United States of America as homeland, signing an agreement to open your data since 1920 to understand at first what is happening in your environment, the peers you have, and how this impacts the interests of America? Then the Federal Bureau of Investigation probably will help. Without you and your small group with this interest asking this help to be yourselves at the American Embassy and have the contract signed in United States of America, there's no help, right? It's the reciprocity. You have no interest in being helped by America in America interests. See, we will report from day 9, and we are evidencing the social psychology. Day 7, we had the embedded system, which was the last issue in July. The embedded system by philosophy, the corrosion of a component will put the entire structure down. If you'd like to corrupt the Federal Bureau of Investigation and activities, America and peers, considering the Interpol and others, a case as a hoax will put the untrust at the agents down. And for sure it's not gonna happen. In the same way, by the credit that has the interest in the strict activity of those agencies and the protection of those agents for sure, and the special victims and others in the way we suggested all the time. We will observe that this was the idea. The embedded system is a stochastic process some way with a component and helps to understand the social psychology as the 9 August to evidence the behavior as organization. We operated as self-defense by rational use of possibilities in order to make possible the formal reply against diffuse risks, including fake records and cases, unregular use of architecture not created for criminal purpose. If your murder is inside a context as criminality probably and has no open data since 1920 and has no interest for the America or even the Europe, they can help too. as Portugal and the entire thing, there's no reason to give you a hand, you know, but shut the door and let you out. Social psychology, and we evidence the behavior, now the trend. The behavior is quite clear, it's against the crime, the corruption. Proof, trend, corruption at the institutional level, that you will do the contamination of your entire organization in all levels, and by the Ponzi scheme as distribution multi-level will be spread very fast, like the behavior as the virus. Provide anything will be served. Then we have the variance and probably a language on it, that is the variance of crimes by the variety of virus. And the trend we proved was the corruption at the institutional level, always having the interest as make decision. We evidenced this by how the institutional behavior misguided by specific checks and hence make a different sense about the mission and purpose that regular institution currently able to seems only do criminal practice and unstable and accomplish at their own premises. The 11 institutional and state crimes from the make decision area at your local architecture will impact by the purpose and the commitment you have, especially to pass through the electoral period or achieve the power using the democratic system by electoral crimes and frauds, will affect the Interpol, the United Nations. The United Nations nowadays is a big joke. Which is the purpose of the United Nations? Can you ensure that you are following these by checks on present time? No. We evidenced this. We evidenced yet, continue the reading. Evidenced yet that the institutional design by parallel levels as multi-level with bonds, observe even the covalent and others, including FIFA, sports, and all things, with drivers holding the money and spreading around the sports and having more transference by that system, and always having interference some way at the electoral procedure as democratic procedure that open doors for criminal groups and interests as criminal interests achieve the institutional power and try to renew the criminal purpose, even if we put a criminal down by the drug and the corruption of moral values and traditions in each society or country. We approve this all the time as cultural destruction issue that the International Criminal Court to affect, for instance, the Japan in the same way affect the America or Europe. Because not regular arrays interconnected through this kind of fail and corruption, through standard designs will be proved as internal fail. Only will happen this if you keep the problem on inside and sustain this problem on there. And the interaction don't allow to deny the fact as intentionally made. It's criminal intent, it's criminal organization in global scale by the mobilization of local crime. The International Criminal Court, Interpol, and the OECD, others complained, but they are also part of those structures. They know the problem and they must have these problems at local areas offered at the international arena. We had this model, if you will solve from local to global or close the door and solve all things global. And by this we had experienced difficult time to have regular rights or guarantees flowing naturally. You create the barrier, to offer the facility by the institutional corruption and have increased your parallel use of power. Because the parallel goes inside the regular fields. But why they are there? How they got in? Why they remains? And the conflict of both as regular and criminal happens not only as interest that you violate, for instance, your own constitution to transfer money around or military technology, or you consider be in silence about the violation made by others against your traditions. But existence, those things are different. It's codified to expose and highlight the difference that must exist, and nowadays is the most healthy thing we have, right? You can treat the virus as a common virus, or something that's not a virus. You must have this very precise, especially in giving the names during the development of biohazard, threats, contamination. By the World Trade Organization, you must have this on United Nations. Report to the office as drugs and crime that must open to the Interpol, spread the information around, and act straight against the headed institutional level, linking the judicial power, the prosecution, the police departments, and the defensive system. Can you understand? Our interests are current outlines, -1. The last thing we had was this situation here. We are charging the G20, and we will observe just two patterns. The G20 that got combined at public and corporate to affect me in an area that you has no right to do this. No excuse. Affecting also the interest, considering the America, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and all things, including the Euro. And by this we are charging the G20. As you could observe, the distortions happen inside, and then it's interconnected until you have something that I don't know. I must have to get one to do all this. I must have to get one to do all this. And all this is proved as institutional corruption, at least inside the hierarchical level, with your flow and parallel goals and communication. It's criminal organization, it's a crime. Transferring money is white collar crime, and public corruption for sure. You all acting like this by treasonous acts against your own people and state, committed treasonous crime, trying to murder a person by the complaint made, and holding the interest, and holding the struggle, and holding the credit and the expectation that we all both. See, we must, be very sure that those consequences will happen. We had the case on Europe, we had the case on Asia, if you would like, or any area, because corruption is illegal, except on Mars, because we don't have this concept as corruption on Mars yet. Then we will check that the parallel goals will be parallel levels as communication and information inside your organization. That is the idea as outline. But the outline can attract or even transfer the line as you have inside a board. It means that by dependence in a very specific moment you have something elastic or constant, which is the need you have, and the need as the weaker control or things you will prevent and try to prevent in our ways. The last thing we will have is the idea that they are racist. You'd like to claim now my guiltiness by racism. Racism is something constant that go all the time. In general, it starts with a misperception about things and go in the ultimate case as institutional violence, because you combine it to murder or do the annihilation of someone or some groups. So I think that I'm not the victim as racism, but probably I'm the victim by everything you do and use, misguided by concept and cognitive bias to justify your campaign as institutional violence. We observe that in America we have the Native Americans, we have the Black Americans, we have other groups. They all has the common thing here, the flag, and we set our universal theory because they are all Americans. If they are as groups, especially criminal groups inside the United States against America, those criminal groups must understand that the American syndicate of crime in the way we have, considering the ghettos and the cartels, will probably, under a corrosive arguments, the criminals inside the activity that are against your tradition as common element, which is the flag. You are all combined as the American syndicate of crime. It's illegal, you must be punished. But inside your groups, probably our elements and notation make things even more unstable. And you can offer this kind of information for the departments or wherever from the street. For instance, having the local authorities on drugs, the major groups of authorities at the institutional level as representative senators on drugs, and also the judges at your area, at you have the Supreme Court, for instance. This can go all around. And the most relevant thing here, if you'd like, for instance, these crimes on El Salvador or something like this, they are in the group that are not black Americans, not Native Americans, but they are Americans some way. Groups there, for instance, murder people, cut to pieces and butcher the streets. Those kind of thing is related with interest in the United States 1920 up to 2028 open data with the approach on embassy, a USA, and contract signed in American Homeland Security. Would like to keep me leading or the problem is solved. Have a great day. Paycheck, 38 trillion. Storage on bank, we both have the expectations. Research, prisons, financial penalty, more prisons. See? Have a great weekend.